Tax sales work in Maryland. And Maryland is a great state to pursue tax sales because you actually have 3 opportunities to make money on tax sales. Now, 2 of them are very well known, and I'm going to tell you about those in a minute. One of them almost nobody knows about. I'm going to tell you about that at the end because that's something that I specialize in, that I've been doing, and it's been great in Maryland and everywhere else I'm doing it. So let's talk about Maryland. Maryland sells properties at tax sale because someone doesn't pay their taxes, and it's really a 2-step process. The first step is that they sell a tax lien. Now, a tax lien is a financial investment that generally will result in you receiving interest. The stated interest rate is 18%, and what they do is they auction off the taxes at an 18% rate, and then bidders go through what's called a bid down process, and they say, I'll accept an 18% rate. Someone else bids says, I'll take a 17% rate, and they bid the interest rate down. Of course, you're starting from a very high amount, so you should end up at a pretty high interest rate in the end. So what happens at the end of that auction, you pay the county for, say it's a $10,000 tax bill, you pay the $10,000. They in turn give you the tax lien, which entitles you to receive the principal when it's paid, meaning the taxes, plus the interest. Now, you don't have to deal with the owners. You don't have to make collections calls or bother them or anything. If and when the owners pay, they're going to pay the county, which is then going to pay you. So within 6 months, the owner has to go down and pay the taxes and the interest, and that way they save their property from being sold at a tax deed auction where they would lose ownership. So the vast majority of owners pay off their tax liens. The ones where tax liens don't get paid off are sometimes vacant land, sometimes properties in estates where the owner has passed away. Maybe the heirs either aren't interested, maybe there aren't any heirs, maybe they just don't know what's going on. Those are properties that sometimes don't get redeemed, but the vast majority of properties are going to be redeemed. So in that business, what you want to do is first get the list. Very simple to do. You put the county in a Google search and the word tax lien sale, for example, Anne Arundel County tax lien sale. That will pull up information about the next sale in Google, and you'll get the list of properties that are coming up for sale, the rules of the auction. Make sure you look at the rules carefully. Often you have to register in advance. Often there are requirements of things you have to prove, like that you don't owe back taxes yourself and things like that. So make sure you pay attention to that. These auctions are generally held either online, more and more commonly, or in person. It's more and more common for online, so you can do it right from home. It's super wonderful. And you can get some good deals there. When you're doing the tax lien business, just make sure you're buying liens against good, solid property, because they sell tax liens against all kinds of properties, some of which don't have any uses. Like, for example, they'll sell like the drainage ditch inside a development where they put a ditch to recover excess water and keep the place from flooding. That's not worth anything. It's not like you can fill the ditch in if someone doesn't pay you off. So you want to make sure that you're buying a lien against a good, solid property. And most people that do that will buy liens against occupied property because they're that much more assured that someone's going to pay it off. So I love tax liens, they're great, but that's a financial investment. What I like even more is tax deed investing. So here's how that works. A tax deed sale is where the county sells the property, and when the property is sold, ownership goes to the bidder. And the way it works in Maryland, if the tax lien holder isn't paid off within 6 months, they can then go through a process to have the property listed for a tax deed sale. And at the tax deed sale, bidders are going to show up, and bidders do show up, believe me, very aggressively. Bidders are going to show up to buy that property, and the bidding is going to start at the past due taxes. Now, if you had 1 year's worth of taxes, it's probably about 2% of the property value. So what happens is someone will come and bid, and of course they're going to pay a lot more than 2% of the property value. They're probably going to pay more like 70 to 80% of the value as it sits at that moment in time, including whatever they perceive the repairs to be. One of the features that gives you as a tax lien investor is a lot of security. Because if you're only owed 2% of the property value, when that's forced to a tax deed auction, you're going to get paid off in that situation. So at the tax deed auction, bidders go, they buy the property, and that new bidder becomes the owner of the property. And you get some great deals in there. It's a great way to acquire properties if you're in the fix and flip business, or if you want a property to live in that you can get at a big discount, 20 and 30% discounts are pretty common, sometimes even bigger discounts than that. So it can be a really great way to get a bargain property in a tight real estate market. Lots of properties are sold. Lots of people that don't pay their taxes either because they've passed away or because they've fallen on very hard times. Happens all the time. So there's lots of opportunity and you can get great deals. So I love buying properties at tax deed sales. Some of the things you want to look out for there, make sure that you see every property that you're going to bid on. Properties can be fire damaged, they can be water damaged, they could be torn down, they could be empty lots. You just don't know. They'll sell anything. So make sure that you actually drive by each property you're going to bid on and make sure that you sit with a local attorney and learn all about the rules because there are lots of tricks to these things. You'll see some other videos on this channel where I talk about how to buy properties at tax deed sales. You may want to watch some of those. It's definitely not something to just wander into inexperienced. You want to make sure you get some good, competent advice. But I will tell you there's some amazing deals there. It'd be a great way to pick up investment properties or a very inexpensive place to live in. Now I want to tell you about this third opportunity that I've identified that I absolutely love. Not many people know about it, and it's really cool. Maybe something you want to pick up on. It's called overages. What overages are monies that are left over when a property is sold at a tax deed auction and it sells for more than the debt. And remember we talked about the debt's probably 2% of the property value for that year's taxes. That is not a lot of money. It's probably going to sell for more like 70% of its as-is value. So if you took, say, average house in America, a $400,000 house, if it goes to tax sale because they didn't pay $8,000 worth of taxes, when that property sells at the sale, it's selling for $300,000 at least. Unless it needs a lot of repairs, it's going to sell for at least $300,000. And if you only owed a couple thousand in taxes and the property sells for $300,000, there's a big difference between those two figures, right? And what that money becomes is called overages money. And overages money comes in the thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. And I've even seen lately a couple of over $1 million overages. Those are rare, but I'm seeing them because the big properties are going to auction these days, especially commercial properties. So in any event, when the property sells for more than the amount of taxes that are owed, the former owner can qualify to go and get that money. But what they have to do is they have to apply for the money and go through a process. They won't always get the money, but generally speaking, they will. And so I've made a business out of identifying this excess money called overages, identifying that, and then reaching out to people, picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, you're owed a big slug of money. Would you be interested in working with me for a contingent fee? I'll go work on getting the money. If I get it, I'll get a finder's fee as my reward. If I don't get it, it doesn't cost you anything. So why not give it a try? And it's a really great business because you help people out. You get the money that they never expected. And these people, frankly, are kind of kicked to the curb. These are people who have lost their house, which is really, it's devastating psychologically for people. Getting kicked out of your own house is really devastating. And they feel badly because they're in such bad financial shape they couldn't pay their taxes. They feel terrible. And we come along, we sort of pick them up, say, look, we will go help you. We'll go get money. If we're successful, we'll get paid sort of like a contingent fee attorney. If we're not successful, it doesn't cost you anything. So why not give it a try? And we literally just pick people up off the ground, dust them off, help them get started again in life. It's really rewarding. I absolutely love this business. I'm an attorney by trade, and I've left the entire rest of what I do in law behind for just this. Now, you do not need to be an attorney to do this business. You want to be a business person who's reaching out to people, letting them know that there's a possibility of getting some money and seeing if they want your help. If you need an attorney to do any deals, attorneys are readily available. Generally speaking, you do not need attorneys for these deals. Generally speaking, if there is any legal work needed, it's very small amount of work, very inexpensive. This is really a business for a good-hearted business person that truly wants to help people, that really gets jazzed up with the thought of doing that, and you want to make great money. It's a cool business. You can start it on the side. You don't have to start as a full-time business. You can start it as a side business or even a side hustle. I prefer business because this is a business. It's not a hustle. But anyway, you can start on the side and you can start getting some deals under contract, start getting them paid out. And then you can, once you get your money in the bank and you see a steady flow of deals, you know how it works, then you're free to leave your job. Or this is something people can do in retirement, can bring in extra income because it's not heavy work. You're really doing research that we teach you how to do. and then you're calling people up and seeing if they want your help. For the ones that say yes, you send out some paperwork, they sign it, send it back. You submit it by mail, and then you get a check back from it. It's a really cool business and a great business, like I said, for people that want to help people. So if you want to know more about the overages business, then the way to learn about that is go see my intro to the overages video. It's a short video, probably 15 minutes. I give you all the rundown of this business so you can identify if this is something for you. I love it. It fits in well with tax liens and tax deeds, and also just an entrepreneur that just wants to do this. It's a cash business, doesn't cost a lot to start. You can do it on the side, really cool. So go check that video out. Meanwhile, hopefully this is useful information for you on the state of Maryland. It's a great state to do business in, wonderful, lots of opportunity there, and I wish you all the best. This is attorney and Harvard Business School coach Bob Diamond, wishing you all the best. See you next time.